wow. Morning glories. Morning glories are known for their stunning trumpet-shaped flowers that bloom in the morning and often close by late afternoon or into the early evening. That's more like it. However, some varieties will stay open a bit later, and most will remain open longer on cloudy days. These are the expert words to describe both the family and the genus of the morning glories. Yep, that's the same way I say them. Native to Central and South America, morning glories are commonly used as ornamental plants in gardens, landscapes, and containers. They can be trained to climb trellises, arbors, or pergolas and pavilions, if you like it fancy. Varieties of morning glories include heavenly blue, with a deep sky blue flower, flying saucers, which are white flowers with blue stripes, and pearly gates, which are pure white flowers. There's also the Grandpa Ott, which has a deep purple flower with a reddish throat. And there's the Neola's Black, which is a dark purple, almost black flower. Very interesting looking. And finally, there's the Scarlet O'Hara, which is bright red and you can't mistake it. Morning glories can add a bit of interest to the gardens, especially once they start climbing. Purple morning glories are usually considered prolific bloomers and attract hummingbirds. Morning glories also attract other pollinators, such as the bees and the butterflies. And now you. We have the birds, the bees, and the butterflies covered with just one flower. So yes, you need some around. Morning glories are vines that can climb and trail, often reaching heights of 6 to 10 feet. The leaves are typically heart-shaped. That's just to let you know how much love it has to give. While the flowers look like large, colorful trumpets playing music to the garden, morning glory flowers are known for their striking beauty and can measure 2 to 4 inches in diameter. So, a champagne flute up to a wine glass. Now tell me she isn't classy. Glories come in a variety of colors, so you can find them in red, white, pink, purple, blue, and even multicolored. I mean, if you need it at your next garden party, she'll have it. These vines are vigorous climbers. They can quickly climb trellises, fences, and arbors. Glories can also be grown as ground covers or put in hanging pots. Some varieties are more compact and a little bit more bushy, so they'll make hanging pots stand out, even more so if you have a window box. Morning glories are primarily warm weather plants that thrive in full sun to part sun conditions. Again, here in Florida, you'll want to be sure your full sun spot isn't an all-day sun spot. You'll get too much heat along with the sun, and your glories will wilt until they get some shade. You want to grow your glories somewhere where they can get a little shade on those very hot afternoons. If you're growing your glories in pots or containers, just make sure the container isn't overly exposed to the high heat and direct sun. Remember, your pots can turn into little ovens during the summer if the sun is beaming directly on them all day, and we don't want our roots to get too hot. Glories are easy to grow, and they can tolerate a range of soil types. But what do most of our plants prefer? That's right, they prefer well-draining soil. Look at you, I knew you were the one. Here in Florida, we can grow glories as perennials, and cooler climates they can be grown as annuals. And remember, perennial just means it keeps growing or it'll regrow every season. Annuals mean that they'll expire and most likely will need to be replaced. Some of you may be able to beat out the cold season if your glories are in pots or containers. Just let them look outside. They prefer temperatures above 50 degrees, so Florida is a wonderful place to grow glories, even in our winter season. Our glories have only been fussy when the temperatures dip into the low 40s for consecutive nights. They begin to wilt and draw back, and I didn't like that at all. Covering them with a large sheet or plant cloth on nights you're expecting freezing temperatures will mitigate this issue and prevent the plant from being exposed to frigid winds throughout the evening. Morning glory plants can be grown or propagated from seeds or stem cuttings. Stem cuttings require you to cut a healthy stem that's about 3 inches long and has 2 to 3 leaves left on the top. You want to use a rooting hormone and some sphagnum moss for this one. It'll help increase your odds. However, it wasn't as cool or efficient as just growing one from seed. They don't take very long to grow from seed anyway. If you want to start your morning glories from seeds, it's actually very easy. You'll want to plant them after the cold season has subsided. Take your fingertip and make a small indentation into the soil. Place your seed into the little crater of love you've just created for it, and then cover it slightly. We want to give it a sheet of love, not a blanket of love. Be sure to keep the soil moist until germination starts. I've seen some start in about 5 days, so be ready to pay attention to them in about a week. If you want to see your glories just go crazy and make your neighbors extremely jealous, give the vine something to climb when you're ready. The more creative you can be, the more envy you'll produce. And I'm sure flowers love envy. They're pretty, so it makes sense. Morning glories are relatively low maintenance during their growth, and more so once established. Water them once a week if the soil is in a shaded area, or receive shade from the sun's afternoon drum solo. You'll want to water them moderately twice a week during dry periods, or if they're in areas prone to drought. Avoid overwatering or waterlogging the soil. That will help prevent root rot. Remember, we don't want to create a pot of mud. Waterlogged soil reduces the airflow in the soil, and it will make your plants very angry. They'll throw themselves to the floor if they must. Be conservative about your watering cycles. We're friends now, so it's my job to tell you that every time. Otherwise, your glories will throw the most dramatic ceremony to be spoken about for ages. They'll ruin an entire area. Whatever Lola wants. Exactly. Pest shouldn't be an issue for your glories. The only issues I've experienced as far as pests have come from caterpillars, but that's kind of part of the game if you appreciate butterflies and moths, and I'm sure you do. Aphids may become a problem, but they're quick to find bigger and better plants to harass. If you do run into aphids, just try some neem oil, or take a spray bottle filled with a cup of water, a quarter teaspoon of dish detergent, and a teaspoon of vinegar. Now go be the garden knight. You are Batman. Actually, more like poison ivy, but you get the job description. Or you can do what I like to do. Hunt down a ladybug man, or ladybug. It's difficult to tell them apart. And take it to the affected plant and watch them solve your problem in a few days. The more the merrier, of course. I have entertained the idea of ordering some ladybugs online for my gardens, but then those environmental people start yelling, and it's kind of hard to enjoy my coffee when people are yelling at me. I'll have to look into that though. Have you tried ordering ladybugs? If so, was it effective? If you identify any fungal issues, just treat them with a fungicidal spray. You shouldn't really have that issue, but just in case, you may want to check other nearby plants to ensure it's not something spreading in your garden. As for fertilization, you can use an all-purpose fertilizer formulated for ornamental flowers. Glories aren't heavy feeders, so just ensuring your soil has some organic matter amended into it will be very helpful. Don't over-fertilize though, or you'll get a big green vine and few to no flowers for months. And then you'll see episode 3 of What I Used to Be, the story of a glory who once was. It's a terrible production. And if you take a peek here, that little guy there is a cypress vine. It is a variety of glory actually, but I don't recall seeing an application to be on center stage, so we're gonna have to address that after the show. But that's a cypress vine. And cypress vine flowers are typically red, but varieties with white or pink flowers are also available. This vine is more compact and suitable for smaller spaces, such as little trellises or fences. Another variety of morning glory that is quite similar is called a cardinal climber. It looks like this. And remember what I said about being creative? This was an old bird bath and an old bird cage. All we did here was take the bird bath, fill it with soil, put the bird cage on top, secure a pot inside of the bird cage. We just use twisty ties, there's nothing fancy here. And voila, there you have it, something to grow morning glories on. And after our glories give us an amazing show for the season, we will come to this. Look closer. Those are the seed pods. Now you don't have to go and buy more morning glories. You can just harvest your own seed pods. You'll want to wait till they turn brown and get a little flaky. After that, they'll just pop right open. You can pop them like little morning glory pimples, and you'll get about 3 to 7 seeds right in your hand. Store them away or put them in the soil. Remember, nice little indentation and a sheet of love. So now that your glories have produced seeds, take a look here. See how they're all brown? They're very flaky, so you can just squeeze them and they'll just pop right open. These things are covered in seeds, so like I stated before, you might not have to buy any morning glory seeds for a while. You still want to support the business, but you can kind of get running on your own. And the seed pods do pop open, so you'll find that there'll be some random tourists just hanging out in the garden. You can see all of these little guys growing down here. I personally didn't mind that because I do want them to grow up the support structure. So since they stay in a confined area, I kind of leave them there. Another thing you can do when you see these kind of glories just spread about in the garden, you can always let them grow, give them about a month or so to grow, and then transplant them either into your pot or into another part of the ground. And as you can see here, these are different types of glories. Since they all grow together, moonflowers, glories, they all just kind of throw their seeds out and about. So you'll keep that variety of morning glories. And usually with these, I'll just go ahead and pop them open, lay some seeds on top of the soil, and then I'll come back later and just throw a little sheet of love on top of those morning glory seeds. Look at all these seeds. These are the seed pods to the moonflower. Now these are the moonflowers. Moonflowers are beautiful, fragrant, flowering vines known for their large, white, trumpet-shaped flowers that bloom at night. The blooms can stay open until mid-morning, or even early afternoon if it's cloudy or shady. This is the expert word for the moonflower. Native to Northern America, specifically Latin America, and similar to the morning glories, moonflowers are vigorous climbing vines that can reach heights of 15 to 30 feet. Tell me that's not up there. The leaves are also heart-shaped, but are a bit larger than the glory's leaves, so you get a bit more love at night. The large green leaves provide a beautiful contrast to the large white flowers. Moonflowers are larger than glories, and they have an added bonus. Moonflowers bloom in the evenings. The flowers can be 3 to 6 inches in diameter, so a cup of soup or a bowl of soup. No flowers? No soup for you. Moonflowers are very fragrant. That's that added bonus, emitting a sweet, intoxicating scent. They smell like buttery jasmine with a slight hint of vanilla. This bright white flower and its mesmerizing scent attracts nighttime pollinators like moths. So we get birds, bees, and butterflies during the day with our glories, and huge, colorful varieties of moths at night with our moonflowers. Moonflowers thrive in warm climates and prefer full sun to partial shade, very similar to the glory. And like the glory vine, it will wilt if exposed to too much heat. And what comes with our Florida sun? Florida heat. So if you have your moonflower in a spot that receives full sun, make sure it gets shade in the afternoon. I've had great results with a part shade location. The big leaves capture plenty of filtered sunlight when the sun hides behind the trees, and our moonflowers were always happy in part shade. They would even bloom earlier or stay open later. Moonflowers require well-draining soil, and I'm sure you knew that already because you're you and you're special like that. Adding organic matter like compost to the soil can improve its growing conditions, or adding something like perlite to the soil to help maintain aeration, which the roots will love. Moonflowers, like glories, are typically grown as perennials in warmer regions and annuals in cooler climates. Moonflower seeds can be planted at the same time as glory seeds. You want to plant them after the cold season is ended. The seeds of the moonflower are a bit larger and very distinctive. They almost look like little peanuts. Planting moonflower seeds is pretty straightforward. You want to take the moonflower seed and place it on top of the soil in the area you want to plant it. And then place your index finger right on top of the seed, firmly. Now say, "Do I love you?" My God, if your love were a grain of sand, mine would be a universe of beaches. And then poke it. Yeah, poke it. About half an inch into the soil. That should be about midway of your fingernail. Maintain eye contact. This is a serious moment. Now, slowly cover the moonflower seed and don't lose eye contact. She needs to see who loves her even when she's not at her best. Keep the soil moist until the seed germinates. Provide something for your moonflower vines to climb. Not only will we make the neighbors jealous, but anyone walking within proximity of that intoxicating aroma will just burst into envy, and our flowers thrive off of that. The neighbors' envy. Moonflowers are also very low maintenance. You shouldn't run into any pest or fungal issues, but if you do, they can be treated just as you would your morning glories. Moonflowers really are a gardener's nighttime treat. They're a must-have if you want to grow a moon garden. Oh, you didn't know about those? Now you do. Or you can add them to your landscape where people walk by them in the evenings. Remember those creative ideas we should have? Try planting your moonflowers near seating areas or windows where their scent can be carried in the breeze. Or let them grow up trees or other shrubs in the walkways. Tell people it just started growing there, so you just left it alone. They'll be upset that the garden gods didn't bless them with moonflowers. Don't worry, they'll try to copycat you soon enough. A note of caution though. All parts of the moonflower plant, including the seeds, leaves, and flowers, are toxic if ingested. So be sure the little ones and the fur babies aren't too curious about these flowers. Likely they won't be, but let's just make sure that's the case. Give the kids candy and give the doggies treats, and they won't care about the moonflowers anyway. Moonflowers truly are captivating additions to the garden. They create a magical experience. You get fragrant blooms and reflections of the moonlight on the flower. All that's missing is a glass of dry Cabernet and a palm. Make sure their soil is relatively moist, not waterlogged. Watering moderately once a week is fine, and twice a week during the summer will help your moonflower stay hydrated. Fertilize with an all-purpose fertilizer once every 2 months. A 10-10-10 is fine, and remember what the NPK means on your fertilizer. And this is what it looks like once you collect your seeds at the end of the season. You'll notice the larger white ones, those are the moonflower seeds. All of the small, little pepper-looking seeds, those are your morning glories. So just like that, you have a whole new season of seeds that you can lay down. And realistically, you don't even need to put that many out. Put out a few and let them produce more seeds. And you just keep the cycle going. Make your garden a head turner during the day with morning glories and at night with moonflowers. They can be planted together to ensure the garden is working around the clock to keep those neighbors envious. Provide them with something to climb. You can keep it classy and traditional with a trellis or arbor, or you can go all out and be creative with your support structure. It's always okay to overdo it by training them to grow over archways or pergolas. You have my support in that. Well, I hope you have your mind set on planting some morning glories and moonflowers, and I hope you win the lotto this week. Thanks for stopping by. Haben Sie einen guten Tag.